Have you ever stopped and actually asked yourself how much of your income you should be investing every month? Not what you could invest or what you hope to invest, but the real number that can secure your future and genuinely change your life. Most people think they have an answer, but when you look at the data, it becomes painfully clear that very few are doing it right. And that's why today we're going to break down the real numbers, the research, and the math to uncover the percentage of income that actually leads to financial freedom. Because yes, there is a number that separates people who eventually become free from those who stay trapped working for money forever. According to a massive Vanguard study that analyzed more than 5 million retirement plan participants, most Americans simply aren't investing enough to reach their long-term goals. These were people contributing to retirement plans alongside employer matches, and the results were eye-opening. By age 55 to 64, the average retirement account held just $27,800, and the median was even lower. Even if someone has other assets, this number shows how inconsistent and insufficient most people's investing habits really are. The report highlighted three main factors that determine investment balances: income, age, and how long someone stays with their employer. Your income usually grows with experience, and you'd expect your investment rate to grow with it. But even then, most people never get close to investing what they should. The same study revealed something even more interesting. On average, Americans invest around 11% of their income, but that number includes employer matches. So if someone invests about 5 or 6% on their own, and the employer matches the rest, they hit that 11% total. In reality, individuals are contributing far less than it seems. The study also showed how powerful automation is. People automatically enrolled in retirement plans contributed more, sometimes significantly more, than those who had to sign up manually. Higher income workers showed an even bigger gap. Among earners making $150,000 a year or more, voluntary participants contributed around 12.4%, but those automatically enrolled averaged 14.6%. A small difference on paper becomes a giant difference over decades. And that brings us to the first big lesson. If you automate your investing, you'll almost always end up investing more. When money gets invested before you see it, you don't have to rely on willpower. It just happens. Personal finance isn't really about numbers. It's about behavior. The second lesson comes from Federal Reserve data. The average personal savings rate in the U.S. currently sits between 3 and 5%. That means a median household earning around $72,000 saves or invests maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a year. And that includes things like emergency funds or debt payments. Actual investing is usually even less. Compared to countries where households routinely save between 15 and 20%, the difference is enormous. Saving, of course, is not the same as investing. Saving keeps your money safe, but still, investing lets it grow. And the biggest difference shows up when you compare savings rates by income. The top 1% save around 38% of their income. The top 10% save about 15%. And the bottom 90% save close to zero, some even negative. Higher income households have more flexibility, but the message is clear. The higher your savings rate, the better, the faster you build wealth. So based on all the data, most Americans invest somewhere between 5 and 11% of their income, including employer matches. Wealthier groups go far beyond that, with savings and investing rates between 30 and 40%. But the real question, the only one that matters, is what percentage you should invest. And there are two ways to approach it. You can follow a general guideline, or you can calculate a number based on your personal goals. One of the most respected guidelines is Fidelity's 50-15-5 rule. Spend about 50% of your take-home pay on essentials. Invest 15% toward retirement, save 5% for short-term needs, and leave 30% for discretionary spending. Fidelity didn't pick these numbers randomly. They came from analyzing hundreds of financial scenarios and outcomes. 15%, invested consistently, is enough to give most people a strong chance of stability throughout life. But life isn't always clean and predictable. Expenses go up and down. Some months you can invest more, some months less. The point isn't to hit 15% perfectly every month. It's to aim for it over time. Hit it on average and you'll likely reach your goals. To make it more concrete, imagine a 38-year-old earning $80,000 a year with $100,000 already saved. If they want to replace about 70% of their income in retirement, they'll need about $56,000 per year. Using the 4% rule, that means they need a portfolio around $1.4 million. The question then becomes, how much do they need to invest annually to get there? Assuming an 8% average return, a 10% investment rate puts them on track, but it takes more than 26 years. Raise that rate to 20%, and they reach the goal about 5 years earlier. That's the power of increasing your investment rate. A few percentage points today can give you years of freedom tomorrow. The real challenge isn't the calculation, it's consistency. Wealth doesn't come from perfection, it comes from endurance. As Morgan Housel said, if you can earn average returns for an above-average period of time, you'll end up among the best investors. You don't need to time the market or find miracle stocks. You just need consistency. Most people fail not because they don't know the right strategy, but because they don't stick with it long enough. If you feel like you're not investing enough right now, the fastest solution isn't to cut everything in your life. It's to increase your income. The easiest money to invest is the money you never needed in the first place. You already have skills that someone would pay for: fitness, design, editing, gaming, music, anything. You can teach it, package it, or turn it into a service. That extra income can go straight into your investments without changing your lifestyle. So what percentage of your income should you invest? Most people should aim for at least 15%. It's realistic, sustainable, backed by decades of data, and powerful enough to let compounding do its work. But the moment you can push that higher, to 20% or even 30%, your timeline shrinks dramatically. 10% might require 30 years to reach your goal. 20% might take 20 years. 30% could bring it down to 15. The gap between those outcomes isn't luck, it's a discipline. Most people will never become financially free, not because they didn't earn enough, but because they never took that first consistent step. Because they treated investing as optional instead of essential. Because they never gave compounding enough fuel. The real takeaway is simple. Don't focus on what others invest. Focus on how much time you want to buy back. Every extra percent you invest today buys you years later. Start small if you need to. Automate it. Increase it each year. 10%, then 12%, then 15%. Eventually, you'll look back and realize that the percentage wasn't the thing that changed your life. The habit was. And that's the real answer. The right percentage is the one that moves you closer to freedom and keeps you there for life. Thanks for watching InvestingFlix, where smart money learns smarter moves. Subscribe for more insights that grow your wealth.